When it comes to North Korean human rights issues, having worked as an ambassador for the past 8 months, I divided into the 3 big issues. Number 1, the North Korean human rights abuses. Human rights abuses of North Korean people within North Korea. And number 2, overseas North Korean defectors, particularly residing in China, as well as the overseas laborers. And then third is the South Korean victims who has been South Korean victims and families called the POWs and the wartime and post-war abductees and detainees. North Korean people need about 5.8 million tons of food per year, and annually there's a chronic deficit is about 800,000 to 850,000 tons. But last year alone, the North Korea fired 71 missiles. Even for the conservative estimate, according to the Ministry of Unification, it requires about 1 million ton of the rice. So given those shortage was 800,000, if they didn't do that, those shortage can be easily covered, and then even we having a surplus. And another thing is the Punggye-ri nuclear site. There are concerns about radiation contaminations near the Punggye-ri nuclear site, and it is crucial to investigate the human rights situation of the residents who have been exposed to radiations. So there is some kind of the movement to investigate those issues, both non-governmental and governmental the level. And that is the right to food. And another thing is right to information. The right to information in North Korea was severely restricted by the introduction of what I call 3 vicious laws. Number 1 is anti-reactionary thought and cultural eradication law in December 2020. And another thing is youth education security law that is in September 2021. And also the Pyongyang language protection law, which just publicized adopted in last January. These laws heavily penalize the viewing and distribution of illegal, what they call illegal, content from outside, particularly from South Korea. So if they watch or distribute the Korean drama or movie and etc., then they are subject to severe punishment, including the death penalty. And I think the reason the North Korean Kim Jong-un regime was very harsh on those issues is a kind of the testimony for how North Korean regime is concerned about those information inflow from outside can challenge their regime security. And another thing is the defector issues. In August 2020, the North Korean Human Rights Organization appeared to then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi through open letter, asking her help in preventing the forced repatriation of North Korean defectors in China. Due to the COVID-19 border lockdown, the forced repatriation from China was temporarily ceased. But as you know, those COVID-19 is getting released now, they have another risk for them to forcibly repatriate to North Korea, where they are subject to the punishment. But the concern remained for those safety and human rights of at least 1,170 North Korean refugees in China, according to that open letter. But the UN Special Rapporteur claimed that could be as at least 2,000 North Korean defectors might be at risk of the forced repatriations. So I think those things we have to pay attention both internationally and from the Korean government side. Another thing is, as I said, the North Korean regime has committed the various human rights violation act against the South Korean citizens. Speaking of that, Japan has been prioritizing the repatriation of the 20 out of the 17 unreturned Japanese abductees by North Korea. In contrast, South Korea estimates that over 80,000 individuals were abducted during the Korean War, and with hundreds more in post-war. And at the latest information is the year 2016, 516 people were still in North Korea at that time. So there has been a lack of government-level efforts, unfortunately, to address these issues. And as a matter of fact, last January, I met with those family of those abductees and POW and all others. Of course, I met them unofficially before, but officially I met with them with the UN, the U.S. the special deputy special representatives from the State Department. So I hope our meeting is not the one-time event, but that will be the beginning of the process to come to raise international awareness about these issues and explore some possible solutions. So having said all those things, why those human rights issues very hard to approach? As the Parliamentman Tae-young has mentioned, the politicization within the South Korea is I believe is the priority problems. Global media is more interested in what is going on in Ukraine and all others. So unless something very big thing happen in North Korea, I think North Korea's human rights issue is still sidelined. So that how we can internationalize or globalize North Korean issue is the very big task. So that just including myself, the Korean government, as well as the international community should work together. Another thing is the fatigue phenomena. North Korean human rights issue as well as North Korean nuclear and missile issue has been there for 2 to 3 decades, and nothing has been changed. So it's kind of the fatigue or like inertia, the phenomena are there. So how to revitalizing the seriousness of this issue is a key issue. As the parliamentarian has mentioned, compared to his father or grandfather's period, the Kim Jong-un has been even further having a ferocious and also hostile policies against their own citizens. So I think that's why we have to do some things. As for the Yoon governments, as you may heard, the present Yoon government is highlighting for so-called the global pivot state, that is a GPS. That those GPS initiatives championed by the Yoon government aims to mainstreaming the South Korea's capability in both hard and soft powers. So as a country situated between the great powers like the US and China, we South Korea faces so-called strategic dilemma or challenges that necessitate a focus on economic security and sales diplomacy. And in the meantime, we have to highlighting for the value diplomacy as well. So that in that sense, I think those human rights issue can be the very beginning or stepping stone for us to highlighting why we South Korean government is committed to the values and norms and then the freedoms and the human rights. I think those tackling with the human rights issue will be the very beginning for our initiative for the GPS. And having said that, I think international cooperation is very, very important. So I had an opportunity to meet with several international governmental officers as well as international NGO peoples, and here in Korea and outside. And I just came back from Geneva, the UN Human Rights Council, talking about the North Korean human rights issue should be in front. And also I'm just working hard with the international community to putting the North Korean human rights issue to a public discussion at the UN Security Council. And also, as we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of the UN Declaration on Human Rights, I try to make this opportunity both in Korea and outside to making how to galvanizing those international awareness and attention on North Korean human rights issues. The release of the final report of the COIs. So that I would like to take this great opportunity to make issues. So last but not least, while we consolidating like-minded countries cooperation on this kind of issue, not only human rights issue of North Korea, but also any other topics in this very complex and uncertain international relations. But I think how to persuade and how to engage with unlike-minded countries or neutral state countries are very, very important to tackle down this kind of tricky and complex issues. So having said that, I'm so glad to have opportunity to speak in front of those people from ASEAN, because ASEAN has the diverse views, although you also have a unity and a consensus at the name of the ASEAN. So I look forward to learning the lessons and experience and wisdom from you. At the same time, I really hope hope your genuine and active support to address the problem of North Korean human rights, because after all, North Korean people has every single right to enjoy their own freedom and their own life, to right to food and right to health and right to information. Constructive engagement, including humanitarian and economic assistance to North Korea, is very important. Not because over the past previous progressive government highlighting for the importance of humanitarian and economic assistance in order to improve their possibility to engage with the North Korean regime. I'm not talking about that. The reason I do believe humanitarian economic assistance toward the North Korea is important is because those are the crucial means to improve the human right and the daily life of the North Korean ordinary people. For that, I think we have to very closely working with the international relief organization and the development organizations to provide those the much needed the economic or humanitarian assistance to the North Korea. But I think how to improve the transparency and how to directly engage with the North Korean ordinary people is the key task for us to do.